Matthew Arnold is the one who wrote Dover Beach in 1867 and was depressed. He mentions his depression about the Crimean War and says, where ignorant armies clash by night. The ignorant armies clashing by night shows the fear where you cannot even see your enemy. But in UPSC, you know the syllabus. It's mentioned. Hey guys, this is Vineet Pandey and today I'm going to talk about the most awaited content through my video lecture. This is the syllabus of UPSC. So here you can see the syllabus of UPSC in front of you. First of all, I want to tell you this thing that yes, the syllabus is very much known, the writers are very much known. Anybody who has gone through graduation, post-graduation courses will recognize a lot of topics. But now here I'm going to analyze all the important points and I also tell you what to read, how to read and from where you can read. So let's start. So guys, here we have the syllabus in front of me. As you can see, the paper 1 is 1600 to 1900, paper 2 is 1900 to 1990. As you can see the papers, the syllabus is in my hand. There is nothing except this, but we are going to dissect what lies in these two papers. So let's start. Most of the time you will see it on the screen. The very first thing they have mentioned, the very first thing they are saying is answers must be written in English. So that's us. That's like we should be thankful to UPSC. Thank you. We know that. Texts for detailed study are listed below. Candidates will also be required to show adequate knowledge of the following topics and movements. So it is mentioned that not only the text, the writers, but the genres, movements and other important things, social conditions, everything is important and again it is mentioned. So we go for some important points. The first one we have is the Renaissance. Elizabethan, Jacobean drama, metaphysical poetry, one of my favorite topic, the epic, the mock epic, neoclassicism, satire. Satire is again, I recently delivered a lecture in my net classes. Menippean satire, Veronian satire, Horatian satire, Juvenile satire. Then the romantic movement, again my favorite. The rise of the novel, a very interesting topic. And then the Victorian age, again my favorite age. So see, for example, we talk about the Renaissance. What do you mean by the Renaissance? If you think the Renaissance is only related to 16th century, 1500 to 1600, most of the past books, guidebooks, they tell you that Renaissance started by 1450 and ended by 1600. Yes, somewhere it's not right, but somewhere it's not wrong. 1498, India was discovered. 1492, America was discovered. But do you know who was the one or the first people to discover these countries were actually the messenger of the west to east? When Vasco da Gama came to the Kapad beach in Kerala, he brought ample opportunities and a message that the Indians are not alone in the world. Either the Britishers were not alone in the world. When you read this thing and realize that Renaissance was not only the reawakening the knowledge, the learning, or to think that you are not alone, it also created a question that who is superior. If you remember, the Britishers would say that the sun never sets in the empire of Britain. When you will read Renaissance, there are 4 different types of Renaissance. If you don't know or if you have never heard that there are 4 different types of Renaissance, then I'll teach you this thing in UPSC. The next point, Elizabethan and Jacobean drama. Elizabethan drama, humanism, the man in the center of the drama, and the moment we go through the word, Shakespeare comes in between. But now, let's be smart. William Shakespeare, King Lear, Tempest has already been mentioned in the syllabus. So are we going to read only Tempest? Are we going to read only King Lear, one tragedy, one comedy? King Lear, one of the greatest tragedy, Tempest, one of the best comedies. No. They have clearly mentioned Elizabethan drama. So if you think that you're preparing for UPSC and you are only reading Shakespeare or 2 books, but not going for Elizabethan drama, you're making a blunder, making a mistake. In fact, for Jacobean drama also, you're supposed to find out what is called revenge tragedy, who were the writers writing about the revenge tragedies. And yes, do not forget Duchess of Malfi and the White Devil. These are the classics of the Jacobean drama. Next, metaphysical poetry, one of my favorite poetry, John Donne. But do we only know one writer, John Donne? No, Andrew Marvell to his Coy Mistress. Do you know that Coy Mistress is not only one of the great work, also deals with a philosophy of carpe diem. The carpe diem philosophy was very much prevalent in that society. So if you're supposed to write an answer, you need to know what is carpe diem and cite more examples to tell what is carpe diem. Had we burnt the world enough, oh lady, this coin is for no crime. Remember the opening line? It's a classic. Next, the epic and the mock epic. So you need to know the traits of an epic. You should know what is Paradise Lost. You should know what is the mock epic, Rape of the Lock. There are other examples, but here you need to know the characteristics of an epic. What makes an epic a mock epic? What are the differences? In which age epics were very much particular about the gods and other things? In which age epics started related to discuss the social life? It's simple. Milton's epic is totally different from the other epics written previously. But while Alexander Pope wrote the mock epic, Hazlitt said, Rape of the Lock is the perfection of mock epic. Next, Neoclassicism Satire. Quite easy. The classics were reintroduced, the classic ideas were refollowed, but it actually became an imitation, the pseudo-classicals, also known as the Augustans. And yes, satire is an amendment of vices through correction, said by John Dryden. Satire started in Restoration age, but satire achieved heights in Neoclassical age. The recent lecture which was given to my NET-JRF students, a special lecture on satire, it was dealing with Horatian satire, Juvenal satire, Menippean satire and Veronian satire. If you don't know what is Veronian satire, contact me. Next, the Romantic movement. If you think that Romanticism is only related to Wordsworth and Coleridge, or some of you say no sir, it's Thomson, the one who wrote Seasons. Again you are wrong. The first writer to write one of the first romantic work is Alan Ramsay, who wrote Gentle Shepherd in 1725. Did you know that? No, then you need to know that. Next, the rise of the novel. So when you study the rise of the novel, you find that there are four vans of English novel. But if you are sticking to these four people, Smollett, Richardson, Fielding, Sterne, these people, if you think only these people are there and you're sticking to these guys only, then you're making a mistake. You should start with Daniel Defoe. How many of you have read Moll Flanders? If you have not read Moll Flanders, you're making a blunder. You think you have finished Robinson Crusoe. You have read Robinson Crusoe, Captain Singleton, but you have not gone for Moll Flanders. It's a blunder. Next, the Victorians, the great Victorian, eminent Victorian. Lytton Strachey wrote Eminent Victorians and mentioned four great Victorians. If you know the names, write in the comments. All my students have been taught about it. I'm 100% sure they're going to write it in the comments. So guys, Victorians is not only about novels, about poetries. It's also about Industrial Revolution. Industrial Revolution was at the heights. The first feminist movements, the colonization, and yes, the Marxist conditions of the society. This is why Victorian is one of my favorite age, and yes, if you read these points, no exam can stop you. Next. Now, guys, as you can see, the writers are there. Luckily, all the poetry is books. I'll be very honest in the camera. When I was going through the syllabus for the first time, I knew only 70% things. It's 2 years back. Now I've gone through almost everything. I just need some revision for some basic points. But when I was going through the syllabus, I was so happy. It was everything on my tips. As you can see, We have William Shakespeare, King Lear and Tempest. King Lear, one of the greatest tragedy, with 3 daughters, a question, and 2 kids who are fighting for being one of the legitimate and the illegitimate. The Song of Tom o' Bedlam, or the quotations. Then Tempest. If you read Tempest as a story, a person who went to another island, started living there, it's not a story at all. Read Tempest from post-colonial point of view. Then you'll find out that Prospero and Caliban are the most important character, and if you have to choose one person, one lead character, it's Caliban from the post-colonial point of view. So, to understand Tempest, you must know what is post-colonialism. What are the post-colonial characteristics? How many of you know the sense of belongingness, the dislocation of culture, identity crisis, concept of mimicry, concept of space, concept of exotic otherness? If you know these things, write down in the comments, and once again, I'm 100% sure my online students are going to write it, because you have been taught for more than 30 terms like this. Go for it. I'll wait and see your comments. Next, John Donne. All the poetries, all the quotes are very, very important, but one of my favorite poetry has been mentioned on his mistress going to bed. Oh my America, my Newfoundland, safest haven with one man manned. Next, John Milton, Paradise Lost. So who doesn't know about Paradise Lost? But the best thing is, we will be going for the quotations, paragraphs in detail. And yes, the most important paragraph is the conversation between Eve and Saturn. The most important chapter. I'll be teaching you line by line so that you are prepared and nobody can compete you. Next, Alexander Pope. Know then thyself, presume not God to scan, proper study of mankind is man. I know my voice is not supporting, but my energy is there. Rape of the Lock or Alexander Pope, both are my favorite. So you are going to get 200% of content from my side on this. Next one we have is William Wordsworth with some poetries. William Wordsworth's life, the motivation, the references of prelude, lyrical ballads, poetries, all the quotations and the characters used in The World Is Too Much With Us. You will be getting every line, every paragraph narrated by me. So technically, you will not have to look for any secondary source. If you are with me and studying under my guidance, you'll be done with these things. The next one we have is Alfred Tennyson, In Memoriam. In Memoriam is a lengthy work. It is said he took 17 years to write it. So we'll work on it and I'll find out the important poetries in between, because in Memoriam there are so many poetries involved in it and we have to go for those lines. Next one is Henrik Ibsen, Doll's House. How many of you know when I teach Doll's House, I do not only teach the concept of Norwegian drama, I also take the references of Parvez Shakir. तुम मुझको गुड़िया कहते हो, खेलने वाले सब हाथों को मैं गुड़िया ही लगती हूँ. जी हाँ, मांग भरो, सिंदूर लगाओ, प्यार करो, दिल में बसाओ, और जब दिल भर जाए, दिल से उठा के ताक पे रख दो. तुम मुझको गुड़िया कहते हो, हाँ मैं गुड़िया ही हूँ. I'll take that reference. Guys, now we are entering in section B, and here we have some novels, some books which are very important, and again I'm going to tell you that we are going to rock in it. The first one we have is Jonathan Swift, Gulliver's Travel, a book which is read from nursery to the cabinet council. Gulliver's Travels has a lot of references, political satires, and I'll be giving you all the references so that you'll understand. If you have to write an answer for Gulliver's Travel, you can cite hundreds of references and examples. Next, Pride and Prejudice, the most favorite novel of girls. Well, I'm not biased, gender biased. Some boys also love it. Jane Austen's masterpiece, 1813 publication. Pride and Prejudice, the first title was First Impressions, and who can ignore the line, it's a truth universally acknowledged that a man in possession of a good fortune must be in need of a wife. My friends, apply it on me. Next, Henry Fielding, Tom Jones, a boy who was found in the bed. His journey, his multiple affairs. It's very important. Tom Jones not only represents the social condition, also goes for the study of a mind, a character. One of my favorite books. Next, Charles Dickens, Hard Times. Oh my. Now what I need is fact. We are going to enjoy the novel, which also deals with the first strike in London. The life of people after Industrial Revolution, the people living under rules and regulations of company law, labor strike. We are going to read all these things in Hard Times. And remember, the opening line, as I told you, is what I need is fact. Next, George Eliot. How many of you love to eat Maggie? You all love to eat Maggie. And here we have Maggie, a character. Maggie Tulliver. Many of you have seen poverty. Do you know, when poverty comes, the relatives, the people, they don't support you. This is beautifully picturized in this book, but this deals with the love between a brother and a sister. Maggie Tulliver and Tom Tulliver. One of my first book I taught in University of Delhi along with Paradise Lost. Next, Thomas Hardy, and the book is Tess of the Urbervilles. Oh my God, who doesn't know this book? An innocent woman, Tess, who goes through a lot, is being raped, tortured, hated by society for being raped. It makes us understand the condition of a woman in 19th century society. If you remember the character studies by Sandra Gilbert and Susan Gobar, they have studied the condition of Victorian women under the title Mad Women in Attic. We'll take the reference from feminist point of view, we'll read it from feminist point of view, and we will go in the depth of this book. Next one is American novelist The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Who doesn't love this book? It will be reminding you of your own childhood. An American classic which was banned in the schools. We are going to enjoy learning. Guys, as you see, my throat is not supporting. I am going to take an excuse of the throat, and the next part will be uploaded soon. Write in your comments along with these things what else you want to know. Call us on given numbers, and if you are a UPSC aspirant, book your appointment to talk to me directly. See you all. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.